this video, I'll be going over the new HiFi Rose RS520 all-in-one integrated amp with a built-in streamer, which to me appears to be a merging of their RS150 streamer and their outrageous RA180 integrated amplifier. Now, we did a video on the RS150, which is linked in the description below. If you've yet to hear about HiFi Rose, they are a newcomer to the high-performance audio scene, but the company has a really fascinating history. Now, HiFi Rose is a part of a larger company called SciTech, which specializes in interactive touchscreen kiosks for public spaces. They have been in business since about 1954, based in Seoul, Korea, where everything they make is manufactured in-house. One of their executives is a big fan of classical music and a hardcore audiophile, and in 2017, they launched a new branch called, as you might guess, HiFi Rose. He set up HiFi Rose to be very engineering-based, with 70% of the team being engineers. When you think about it, this seems like a dream audio startup. You have the resources of a large tech company with years of experience making robust interactive technology, and you have someone who loves good sound driving the products that they actually design. Now, most streamers have a simple front panel interface and rely on a custom app for most of the control and setup. However, with all the kiosk experience that HiFi Rose has, they decided to set themselves apart with a striking front panel display unlike anything the audio industry has seen before. And boy, did they hit this one out of the park. Their engineers also decided to cut no corners on the audio technology and use some of the best DACs that you will find in any music streamer today. Even before you turn on the RS520, you can see that it's built to exceptionally high standards. The aluminum chassis just exudes class with how the ventilation openings are cut out, with the side panels having what look like heat sinks. And wow, a chassis that it is. It is made from a solid block of aluminum to reduce any chance of vibrations. And to keep the design really clean, the power, volume, and mute buttons are all slightly recessed into the top of the front panel. But when you go ahead and you do press that power button and the 12.6-inch wide LCD touchscreen comes on, you can see what sets HiFi Rose apart. This super large screen just makes it such a different user experience. You can easily scroll through the sources, and the graphics are just incredibly clear on this screen. Also, anything to do with typing in search or setup information is really easy to use with this super large display and big keyboard. The source choices through streaming are more than what most streamers typically offer. You get the usual suspects of Spotify Connect, Apple Music, Qobuz, and Tidal with full MQA decoding. One very interesting choice that HiFi Rose offers is a commercial-free portal for YouTube videos called RoseTube. You can also send any streaming video content out to your TV, even 4K Ultra HD videos. Rose Radio is their internet radio system with Shazam built right in. For digital music libraries, you can pull in high-res files from a local device or your network. For fans of CDs, the RS520 can even replace your CD player if you add the optional RA780 CD drive. You can play CDs and even rip them to the 520 if you add an optional internal SSD drive. And finally, for Roon fans, the RS520 is a Roon-ready endpoint. Before we get into the other rear panel sources, let's look at the EQ screen. The Rose EQ system is set up for two purposes. You can access this from any music source by pressing the meter icon and then the little EQ button. First, there are some built-in curves for various music genres. However, those will just change the sound and likely not make it any better. However, this one differs from what you typically see with EQ or advanced tone controls from almost any other brand. In almost every single room, you're going to have one or more frequencies where you get a very large peak due to how the sound interacts with the room dimensions. Sometimes those peaks are very sharp, only affecting a narrow range of sound, while other times they're much wider. Peaks like this can color your music, which is one reason why we're such big fans of home theater products with automatic room correction built right in to knock those peaks down. The catch with general tone controls or EQ is you can't fine-tune anything. One room might have a sharp peak of 68 Hz, while another might have two at 43 Hz and 75 Hz, while a general tone control may only cover 100 Hz. This is why I love the way HiFi Rose did this EQ system. You can move the area the EQ bands cover. There is one caveat in that they separate them by about 20 to 30 Hz, so you can't put one out at 71 and another one at 72, but bass peaks are almost always further apart than their band limitation, so it should work pretty well. This is just so great for taking out those nasty bass peaks. Now, you will need some kind of room analysis tool like Room EQ Wizard to find out where those are, but if you want to audio geek out more and fix your room, HiFi Rose has provided you with just what you need. Another neat part, and granted this is only eye candy, but you can switch the big display to meters only that you can have adjust to look for various looks and colors. And I have to admit, it's a lot of fun finding a look that complements my system. Should you want to just hide your RS520 away and not play with its amazing display, HiFi Rose has done a pretty good job with their app for both iOS and Android. I found this very straightforward and easy to use. It also has a feature called Related Tracks, where the song playing lists about 20 other songs which are similar, which is a great way to start finding new music that you might like. Below that are all the song credits. I do have just one tip if you're using the app instead of the unit for volume control. If you're on a song, you will have some limited adjustments to volume only. But if you tap the tiny little remote icon in the upper right-hand corner, you will find all kinds of cool functions, including controlling these super neat meters. Taking a look at the rear panel, you'll notice all of the RCA type connections are the higher end chassis mount type you see on very serious high-end audio components. And they're actually nicer than the coax and analog inputs on the more expensive RS150 streamer preamp. You get digital coax and Toslink in and out, preamp outs, one analog in, a USB in for computer audio, an ARC HDMI input, an HDMI output, and several USB ports for attaching a Bluetooth dongle, HiFi Rose's own CD ripper and player, or a USB drive for music files. The speaker connections are also solid and in line with what we'd expect in this price class. Now, while you may think the HiFi Rose RS520 has what the name says, Hi-Fi only, the fact that it has Toslink connection means you can connect about any TV to it to greatly improve your TV sound, and better yet, if you have a newer TV with HDMI ARC connection, the TV remote will control the volume of the RS520 if you use the HDMI ARC path. Plus, don't forget the RS520 is a high-end YouTube video player with their curated content, which means you can queue up those concerts and watch them on your TV while enjoying the great home audio speakers. One tip, your TV may come defaulted to Dolby Surround audio out. For any two-channel system like this, you will need to go in and change the output to PCM. I want to point out that you've heard me talk about a few tips. Well, if you do purchase your RS520 or any other gear from Audio Advice, you're going to get our technical knowledge to help you get the most out of your purchase. Now, we know all the little details and tips that can elevate your level of enjoyment, but that benefit is only available through those who support our business. Go to audioadvice.com to check out the RS520 right now. When we first heard their current top-of-the-line RS150, we were impressed with the fact that it had the very best DACs available from ESS, their flagship ES9038 Pro. Many consider this to be the industry's best DAC that you can buy right now. This DAC has a very low noise floor of minus 122 dB and supports PCM at 768 kHz 32-bit, and it also supports DSD512. With all those great specs, it has extremely low jitter. When we first heard the RS520, we thought it would have had the next step down from ESS, but no, the RS520 has the exact same DAC. Now that's very impressive. Now I should point out the RS150 is built with a fully balanced design, which gives it a big advantage and will surpass the RS520 in streaming. But for substantially less than the RS150, the RS520 includes a pretty unique amplifier built in. So that is half of the new RS520, the preamp and the streaming section. The amplifier half is straight from the new tech they developed for the super cool RA180 integrated amp. The HiFi Rose RA180 integrated amp uses a new type of amplifier technology that we're starting to see pop up. This is a new type of FET, which is made using gallium nitride, or GaN for short. This new FET gives the Class D amp section much faster switching time, which makes it sound more like an analog Class AB amplifier. There's even a new class for this design called AD. The big advantage of Class D has been its efficiency, which means you can put more power into a smaller package. This new AD design allows HiFi Rose to include a 250 watt per channel amp in the RS520. Now, if you look closely at the amp spec though, this 250 watts per channel number is not with both channels driven across the full frequency spectrum at a low distortion number. They simply spec 250 watts. Under the distortion spec, they claim a low number of 150 watts per channel at 1 kHz. I suspected the RS520 would behave like a good 100 watt per channel Class AB amplifier, which is still very respectable for everything that you get in this unit for its price. Now, I sat down with our founder when we did some of these listening tests, so we used music he normally uses for testing. The very first track was Tecumseh Valley from Nancy Griffith's 1993 Other Voices, Other Rooms. This is a duet with Nancy and Arlo Guthrie, accompanied by acoustic guitars, bass, a drum kit, and fiddle. Both artists put a lot of emotion into the recording of this song, especially as it progresses through the sad story that they're telling. The thing that stood out to me was how separated every instrument and the two voices actually were. The fiddle felt like it was just floating just inside the left speaker. Each of their voices was clearly separated, and you could easily pick up those small changes in expression that make the music sound more like the performers are there in person with you. We had been listening to some pure analog with all tubes before we switched over to the HiFi Rose, and we were super impressed with how there was zero digital edge at all. This cut really showed off the musicality of this RS520. Now the next cut we listened to was Lay Me Down by Crosby Nash from their 2004 album. This track was far bigger and fuller with a lot of deep bass. Like the first track, this is another duet. At about 1:20 into the song, the duet turns into multiple overdubs. When this hits on a great system that is well set up, you can actually hear the voices way outside of the speakers. The RS520 checks this off too with ease. Now another track that's a really interesting piece for fine harmonic details is, believe it or not, a Rolling Stones cut. You can't always get what you want from their 1969 Let It Bleed album. On a good system, you can hear the choir in this song floating right in the middle. But the real test is at about 55 seconds in when Al Kooper comes in with a French horn solo. Right at the very end, it sounds like they overdubbed in the horn again about an octave lower. Now if you play this on a high-end set of headphones, it's pretty easy to distinguish. But on most audio systems, unless the DAC and the rest of the chain is really good, it's almost impossible to hear. Well, we could hear it with this RS520, which is a big positive for the DAC that it has. The next song was from Thanks to You from the 2001 Boz Scaggs Dig album. This is a pretty popular demo cut in audio circles, as it has some really deep bass lines behind the great vocals of Boz Scaggs. The RS520 did really well here, but this may be an area where a true Class AB amp might do better on the tactile feel of the bottom end attacks on that actual bass line. Now we finish things up with Don't Get Around Much Anymore from the 1989 When Harry Met Sally motion picture soundtrack. This track has Harry Connick on vocals and piano, and is a great one to listen to for those tiny details, tonal quality, and dynamics. In the beginning, the RS520 was able to let us hear the feel of his hands on the piano keys, and even on the foot pedals. When the baritone guitar comes in, which sounds a lot like an upright bass, the tonality was just fantastic. And finally, about halfway through, the horn section blasts in, which can show off the dynamic capabilities of a really good system. HiFi Rose has once again sailed through these tough tests. And after putting the RS520 through its paces, I think HiFi Rose may have actually priced this a little too low. It has the same DAC as their top-of-the-line streamer only. It comes with a powerful amp that has a very warm sound. The rear connectors are first class, and to top things off, you get that beautiful front panel interface with its super cool features and displays. I see the RS520 being a great step up for someone who wants very high performance sound quality in what is a very attractive and small package. Or for that matter, anyone looking to move up into serious home audio. It can outdo many separate components that cost a lot more, and it takes up a lot less shelf space. But to me, it would not matter how big it was or how it looked, this unit just sounds fantastic. The great display and form factor are actually just added bonuses. I hope this review has given you a good idea of what the HiFi Rose RS520 has to offer. Now if you do purchase from Audio Advice, we offer free shipping, a price guarantee, and lifetime expert support. If you have any additional questions about this or any other products, reach out to our experts via chat, phone, or just stop by one of our award-winning showrooms. We'd be happy to help you out. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any of our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.